Hello and welcome to another Joyfully Ever After Through the Looking Glass combo with yours truly, Heidi Esther. I am storyteller and joy coach. I walk alongside women and those who are selflessly dedicated to their families and communities to break out of those defeating emotional and thought and feeling loops to create joy on their own terms. I do this, because I've been there in those trenches, doing and being for everybody else but me. I walked through a dozen years of grief and loss and healing and joy and growth and discovered my joyful purpose. So I wrapped that up with my professional relationship building talents, storytelling, and all my years of veteran mamahood to create a neighborhood where we all can peel back the layers and roles that no longer serve us so we can authentically connect and cultivate our joy. Or you can kind of think of me like if Captain Marvel and Mr. Rogers had a baby who loved baking chocolate chip cookies. Okay, welcome to the Joyfully Ever After neighborhood. So, today is a through the looking glass conversation. So, what are those? Well, these are conversations with different kinds of teachers who have new tools for us to know and heal and grow ourselves a little more badass. That tool could be like astrology or acupuncture or the Enneagram. And just like you grew up and you figured out how you liked learning, either like you were that kid who was like raising your hand, asking all the questions, or you were like taking all the copious notes, or you were like scraping your knees, climbing those trees. I bring you the different tools. Some people call them loving mirrors to see yourself. So you can find your way to heal and see more of your whole badass self. All right. That is enough from just me. Oh, today I still have a banner on that says Spotlight Moment. I am just going to pop on a Through the Looking Glass banner. There you go. Okay. I am so incredibly grateful to be sharing space today with this bright soul right here who is on her own journey to joy and has been helping others on theirs and has a new tool for this community to share. So I am here with Rachel, founder of Daily Bread Yoga, here to talk about it. You guessed it, yoga. So we're going to find out a little bit about her journey as a woman, mom, yogi, and the tools she uses to know and grow herself and others a little more badass. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it is absolutely, absolutely my pleasure. So, Rachel, I'm going to introduce you a little bit, and then I want
Okay,
you to just fill
great.
in the gap. Just fill in the gaps for me. Okay.
Okay.
So, Rachel is the founder of Daily Bread Yoga, a live, online in person community of people who practice yoga together.
It's
Though
true.
you might think Daily Bread Yoga is religiously affiliated, it is not, and it's totally and utterly and completely inclusive. I know Rachel as a wise and boisterous woman who wears her heart on her sleeve and who creates a safe, open container in her classes for both the physical practice of yoga, but also of introspection and gentle awareness of different parts of ourselves. She is a mom with two growing girls and truly in the trenches of juggling all the roles and always is willing to share her journey and struggles and successes with her community.
True.
And I totally believe Rachel is a wise woman wrapped up in a pretty damn hilarious package. And she sends thoughtful messages every Sunday that invite you to be a little more compassionate and look at something deeper or in a different way. Rachel, I am so honored to be here with you.
Well, it's a treat for me too.
Yay. So, what did I miss?
What did you miss?
Did I fill in
Daily
any
Bread Yoga
gaps?
did start out. I used to be long ago a Lutheran pastor, and Daily Bread Yoga was named because I wanted it to meet the needs of a church institution as
Mm.
still a viable way for me to stay a pastor. Um, And I also just really felt like it was a name that was really meaningful for me. Like, this wasn't, this wasn't fancy brioche yoga that you can have once a week because it's either so fattening or so expensive. This is
Mm.
like really daily bread kinda stuff that, like, it's not expensive. You don't have to it doesn't have to be a special occasion practice.
This is the whole wheat yoga, like whole
Also,
wheat.
just, like, repetitive. Like, I
Yeah,
don't do a lot of fancy different stuff every time. It is, and it is sustaining and kind of predictable, and I like it that way. And so it did start out, and then I very much, um, through mutual we kinda mutually outgrew each other. I
mm.
really outgrew the beginning. I no longer felt the need for the church to decide if I was a thing or not. And I'm really grateful for the place that I started and all the ways that it helped me have the courage to like say, yes, I teach yoga. Come.
I
Um,
love that. I love that. Like you
no
just like took
longer
the power away and you gave yourself permission. You're like, I will be the founder of Daily Bread Yoga and it doesn't have to look this way.
well, and I was before, but I
Yeah.
was looking for a lot of affirmation and like
Yeah.
I needed the church started out as a really wonderful platform for me to start and to say who I was and where I was from. But then who I was and where I was from was myself. And
Mm.
it wasn't authentic anymore to say that I was a pastor because I just wasn't.
Mhm.
And even if people say that what I do is pastoral, I I know enough about being a pastor that I am not a pastor. Um, and so it feels so much truer and it still feels like it should be still called Daily Bread Yoga. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah.
that's maybe just a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
I love that. I love that journey. Actually, I didn't know that that it was founded in
Yeah.
that way. And so I was in when I was in fundraising for 17 years. I think there was like 5 different nonprofits in that time. And so whenever I would talk with people, right, there would be this mission and this other company, other sense of purpose that was in between. I found it was in between me and that person, right, that I was talking to. There was always this mission. And so you had the church in between you and the people that you were serving. And so that liberation, right, to like take that
Right.
middleman away and say like
It's very true.
I'm
Yeah.
going to authentically
And
connect with
I
people.
really wanted the church to need me. And that's a big part is that I thought I was super helpful.
Mm.
I thought I was super helpful for the church, and I thought I was super helpful for pastors, especially, because I was a pastor that was really burning out and struggling. But this is kind of why I'm not much for self-promotion because you're only gonna come to yoga when you wanna come to yoga, not because someone thinks you really would benefit from yoga. And so the church the church didn't really the church wasn't asking, but
Mhm.
I was expecting them. I thought they
Mhm.
really needed it. And, so I mean, in the end, it felt like a really unfair relationship to both of us. I kept getting disappointed and,
Mm.
they that wasn't fair to them either. And so it did I feel so much more honest and authentic and to just, like, let them be who they
Yeah.
are. You don't have to
Yeah.
do yoga, you don't have to think what I'm doing is changing the world. It's okay. Everybody is
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, it's okay to come as you are, and
Yeah,
it's
you
okay
don't
it's okay
have
to
to
let them
do
be,
this.
right?
Yeah, you
And
don't you maybe you'd benefit from it, but
yeah,
I don't know anything, you know?
yeah,
Like
we're all just on a journey, right, to share, just
yeah,
sharing our experience, and so some of us are given, like, I think we all just have, like, peculiar geniuses and weird superpowers, and it's just like we show up in certain different ways,
and
and
at
so
whatever time it works, so
yeah,
anyway, so
yeah.
that's the more than
Yes,
that.
yes, I do
Anyway.
love that, and, I'm gonna go, like, this conversation totally reminds me of a toy that I have on a shelf over here, I'm gonna grab
Oh,
it.
goodness. Da 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 da. Na 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 na.
Okay, so when I was a little kid, I had a bunch of these toys, and for everyone listening to the pod, so it's a handle that's attached to a giraffe, a plastic little giraffe that has like strings attached to it. So on the handle, there are these two little like fins where if you press the fins
Levers,
in,
I think they're
levers,
called.
yeah, you press the fins in, and the giraffe will like collapse, right? And then if you let him go, the giraffe will go up. And so at a pivotal moment in my like awareness of me being like codependent on other people, like I was always giving my giraffe away to other people, and so they always had the control of the levers, right? They could build me up or they could crush me, like in one instance. And so I had to realize I kind of went through life with this in my purse for like 2 years, and like saying, okay, is am I handing my levers over to somewhere else, or am I abusing my own levers, right? Am I
Mm,
tearing myself down? And so it's just like it's so empowering when we're able to like take that back, right? And say like this is my toy and I'm going to treat myself how I want to treat myself, or I'm going to try anyway. So,
yeah.
yeah. Totally. I know. Random aside. Okay. So I start all my shows with the same question for all my guests. Rachel, how are you taking care of yourself today?
How am I taking care of myself today? Um, I'm easing up. I
Mm.
have myself and my husband and my daughter have been sick for the last week, and I have let go of having to have everyone prove to me that they're really sick. Because as the mom who's sick all the time, good Lord, I would I was kind of making my other people prove to me that they were sick. And today I was just like, Rachel, just let them be sick. They don't have to prove anything to you. They can be sick.
Mm.
They can just lay around. Your daughter doesn't have to like be half dead to not go to school.
I love
So it
that.
just was, and I get to be
Love
sick
that.
then too. And so honestly, I'm kind of leaving everybody alone is how I'm
Yeah.
taking care of myself today. Because otherwise I poke and prod a little too much. And it's not even fun for me. I don't even like doing that. Who likes to be a poker? Nobody.
Yeah,
A hot wrought
yeah,
iron?
you gotta take care of yourself and like draw that line and say, you
Which
know
is
what?
not to say that,
Not
like eventually she will not go to school, but you know what? I just was like, I don't want to do this. So that's how I'm taking care of
yeah.
me is easing the hell up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I
Pushing.
get bleeped for
Mhm.
saying HE double hockey sticks?
No, no,
Okay.
you're good.
Okay.
This is my pod. You can
How are
cuss
you
at
taking
you
care of
can
yourself
you
today,
can cuss
Sarah?
at will.
Okay.
So I
I just
decided
called you Sarah, but I meant Heidi.
it's all good. It's all good. I would probably I don't know. I don't think I would respond to Sarah, but you know what? It's all good. Whatever. Somebody called me like Holly the other day, and then they called me Heather, and then they got it right the third time. And then I was like, it's all
What?
good. I H's, I'll respond to all the H's.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
get called Rebecca a lot.
Oh,
Anyway, how are you
interesting.
taking care of yourself,
Ah,
Heidi?
so I had this really great tea yesterday at Cafe Kopi. And
Mm,
they have a Cafe Kopi in Champagne, great selection of teas. They're kind of I don't know, there's like half of the things are out on their board right now. I don't know what's going on with like the tea shortage. It's
pandemic.
probably a COVID thing.
Mhm.
Exactly. But I've had this wild rose tea and it's fabulous. And I'm on my fourth steep of said tea. It's a little weaker. I will admit it, but it's still like
Like
providing
the
me.
same bag?
Yeah, same bag. I brought it home from the tea place because I can't find any. Like we have a local like loose leaf tea place, the Walnut Street Tea Co, and they don't have anything like that. So,
I bet
yeah,
they'll get it for you. Maybe you should just ask Kopi to buy a few.
yeah. I'd be like, do you have? Because I know they get it out of this jar like they're an apothecary, and it's like cool.
Oh,
Yeah, so they like scoop it out with a real like wooden
that's a good
spoon.
idea. That's a good idea,
Yeah.
Heidi.
Yeah, so, taking care of myself by just kinda, like I shoveled some snow a couple times today, so I'm just hydrating through rose tea today.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, sometimes water's just too boring for me, even though I get up and I drink, like, 20 ounces, and sometimes I drink 20 more to try to be on the hydration
I
station,
know.
and Rachel, you got your is that like a that's like a 30 ouncer right there. That's a big one. Looks like a big one,
Yeah.
is it?
It's a big old juice cup. But anyways,
Oh, I
there
love that.
used to be juice in this. So anyway,
Oh. I love repurposing stuff like that. It's so fun.
I know.
Yay. Okay. So, we are going to get into it right now and talk about uh,
Yoga.
yoga and your journey to yoga. So, um, so first, okay, so there are a lot of kinds of yoga. And honestly, I grew up in a household that was like, yoga is for people who are monks. Like, that's all
That
I
would
knew
be a
of
good idea.
yoga growing up, was that it was
Hmm.
some kind of stretchy stuff that people did so that they can connect to like Buddha. Like
Wow,
that.
that's
I know
amazing that that's
that.
actually what you thought. That's not what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it
Did
was
you
like
have?
strange Jane Fonda, you know? I did not
Oh,
think it had any spiritual connection, or I didn't, or I mean, I guess I did, but just more of like a hippy dippy, if I thought
yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah, strange Jane Fonda. I like that. I like that. It's kind of like, you get to have the own exercise suits
Yeah.
and yeah, do it. So I was wondering, what do you say when people ask you like what is yoga and like what kind of yoga should people do or how do they get into it or and do I have to be flexible and be able to meditate to do yoga?
People ask me a lot what kind of yoga I teach, and I
Yeah.
say like I teach yoga. I don't have a brand name. It doesn't have a name, but I think that's because there are some kinds of yoga like hot yoga is hot yoga, where it's like 100 degrees, and that is not the way of my people.
It's a warm room.
And
Yes.
that's a warm room. I'm warm already, so
Mhm.
I don't do that kind. There's other kinds where it's very specific, and that's called can't even Ashtanga. No, Ashtanga is a thing. I kind of, anyways.
I think
There's
it
a
is.
bunch of
Yeah.
if there's a name before it, that's the kind
That's
of
like a
yoga it is.
specific kind of
Yeah.
yoga. Okay.
But even though there is daily bread in front of my yoga, it's not a I do not have a trademark
It's not a
on the
type of
yoga I
yoga.
teach. It is not a type of yoga. It's just me who teaches it. And that's what I would say is that unless it is a very specific trademarked brand, everybody is just teaching their own homemade recipe of yoga. And
Oh,
so
I love
every
that.
yoga class is going to be a little different depending on the
Mhm.
teacher and what poses they like to do and what poses they don't like to do.
I love that
Um,
recipe because it's like everyone's making bread and there are a million
oh my
different kinds of
gosh.
bread out there.
Right. Right. Go look for a chili recipe.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, that's kind of like yoga, but yoga essentially just means being connected in mind, body, and spirit. So, right now, we're connected in mind, body, and spirit, but we're mostly focused on the mind, right?
Mhm.
But how we're sitting makes a difference to our conversation. And, the mood that we were in this morning affects the conversation. That's how we're connected in mind, body, and spirit. But in a yoga class, we're just doing that on purpose. And so in a yoga class, we go through the body, we focus on the body to quiet the mind and just rest, be in the
Mhm.
spirit. And that doesn't mean that it's constant, but you just maybe get like little moments of like, oh, that felt really good on my back. Sweet, maybe that's yoga. Or,
Mhm.
oh, I just realized that I have been struggling against this whole time and maintaining it. There we go. There's some yoga that had more of a mental
Mm. Mhm.
flavor, or maybe like while you're lying down at the end, you're not exactly sure why you're crying, but you're kind of crying. And maybe that's a little glimpse of yoga, but it's not like perpetual, it's not constant. It's just these little glimpses that maybe you feel in the moment, maybe you feel after, but in this sense of bringing all your parts on purpose.
Mm. I love that. It's like opening up the door to all these different avenues that could or
Show up.
that could
Right.
help you, right? That could help you or could heal you or could show you a different way to look at something. And it's just like that invitation, right? Yoga is that invitation to open to things you might have to heal or things you might have to like physically, mentally,
And
emotionally
it
stretch.
might like be,
Yeah.
I mean, it might not like happen.
Mhm.
Like nothing necessarily might happen
Mhm.
in a yoga class. but just over time, you notice a shift in your perspective. You notice a shift in how you hold yourself. You notice a shift in your breathing. There's very little obvious before and after, in my opinion, except for like, now we'll do our right side because we just did our left. I think that's
Yeah,
like this
that can be
obvious
a
time.
yeah.
If you did this side, then you can feel that sort of like before and after in your body.
Mhm.
But and
It's like
maybe
a
I've just been
slow
doing it for too long.
evolution. It's like a slow
Yeah.
evolution, right?
Yeah,
Of
and so I think people like I myself went to several yoga classes and was just like, this is awkward. I'm focusing so much on my breath that I'm hyperventilating. I don't
Mhm.
exactly understand what I'm doing. And and I just wasn't taken by it in the very
Yeah.
first few times that I went.
So was this was your beginning, so you went around to some different
I
places?
mean, I didn't seek it out much. It was just, like, at
Oh.
where I was, and so I went
Oh,
to a
okay.
couple times to a couple classes, and I just was like, "It's okay." But I just didn't, get it, and then when I was living in Detroit and I was really struggling, I was lonely, and, I I I was really struggling, and I was just going to a gym, like a sweaty old gym with workout machines, and I went to a yoga class that was offered by just this real muscly guy, and it was loud, and he played music I didn't like. Um, but it finally made sense. I finally got it, and I would cry at the end often,
Mhm.
and I would think about it later, like, oh my gosh, there are times in a yoga class where I realize that I'm like clenching my fists or like squeezing my butt and I don't need to.
Mm.
Why am I working so
Yeah,
hard
all that
to like
effort.
just sit there?
Mhm.
And so it would be like in the after moments where I'd be like, that's so funny how I feel that in my body. But I often wouldn't necessarily think it in the moment. It would be afterwards where I'd be like, huh, that makes so much sense. And at the time,
Mm.
I was a preaching pastor, and so it just was obvious in Scripture that all of the stories of the Bible are about people's bodies and how they're sick
Mm.
in body or mind or
Mhm.
spirit. Like that's all, they're about people who
Yeah.
have real bodies, and
Yes.
it mattered how they felt. And so that was probably one of the biggest experiences was that nobody in this class knew me. Nobody knew that I was a pastor to anybody. I really liked being anonymous. I really liked knowing no one even knew my name. No one was even particularly friendly to me. It wasn't a community sense of community I was after. Um, but I felt like it mattered how I felt. And I didn't necessarily know that before. Not because I had horrible parents but it was like I didn't know it mattered to how I felt to myself. And
Mhm.
so that was part of the tears was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I didn't even know that I have been ignoring you at this party the whole time. I'm I'm really sorry."
That's so remarkable, like how and it's so difficult to take that to get into that space where it's like, I don't like I experienced very similar, like my first Savasana. I think I cried for like I think it was like 15 minutes or something. It was just everyone was still up and I was just like still tearing on my mat and the lights were on and the tears kept coming and it was just like I had never experienced just spending time with my feelings
Mhm.
in that way and in also a way and Rachel in your classes you say like trust um like trust that the ground is holding you up, right? And then it was in that moment where I trusted that I was being held and that I could just be me, right? Create it's like I had that safe container in that moment for my feelings and I gave myself grace to share them without judging them, or figuring out what they mean, or pushing them away with more
Right,
Diet Coke or whatever I would
right.
used to do. Be like, oh, I got to do some laundry. Um,
You
yeah,
eventually do have to do laundry,
yeah.
but yeah, I think there is something to just like the whole point of a yoga practice really is for the last 5 minutes, so that you can finally get over yourself and how great you just did that pose, or how you didn't do that pose, or wondering why, whatever, so that for 5 minutes you can go, well, that was enough.
I'm
I
gonna
did
I'm
it.
gonna rest now. Yeah,
I'm just gonna lay here.
yeah.
And it takes us a while to get to a point where we can just be like, that was it. That was that was my effort.
That was what it was. Was all.
That's
Yeah,
what it
it was meant to
was.
be.
And so I don't think that's a small thing, and I think that's hard, for people to get to that place. Some people are like, "No, that's not all I could do. I could have done more." Okay.
Or like they sit there in that time thinking like, yeah, what do I need to do differently, or what could I have done like
And
harder, faster,
I
better?
do plenty of that. I do that, I can multitask while I'm talking everyone through it. I can berate myself that I didn't give a harder worker, that I noticed that somebody looks like they wanted to do more, or I assume all sorts of critique. So
Mm,
I definitely do that as well. Um, and then I'm like, okay, Rachel, but this is what you did. I mean, it's all so
mhm,
imperfect. It's all so imperfect.
yeah, we are
I
perfect. We are perfectly imperfect.
I I mean, I struggle with all that as I'm doing it.
Mm.
I'm talking to myself as I'm telling everyone to, like, let it slip out your fingertips.
Welcome to the great self-awareness of Rachel.
Sometimes I am like, "Did I just say that out loud, or what part am I on?" Because I'm talking to myself. Or sometimes I honestly
Mm,
almost talk myself to sleep. So anyways, that's yoga.
I love that. I love that. So, can you share a little bit with me about how you went? So you had those very healing, I guess, ripple effect
Mhm.
savasanas in the beginning, and kind of that was like the door opening to you to like, all right, this doesn't have to look or be, or you don't have to struggle a certain way with um this kind of body, mind, and spirit exercise. So when did what was the pivotal moment for you? Like, what did you have to embrace to say like, all right, this is how I want to show up differently, because right now I'm in pastor mode, and you said you were burning out, and so like, what was that moment, what was that time in your life like?
It was definitely a phase where I just realized, and I'm still going through it. But just realized that I liked um, my practice of leadership better when I was teaching yoga. That when I was a pastor, it felt very much about me and all the ideas I had to share, because that is how it works, is that nobody interrupts you while you're giving a sermon, right? Which is
Mhm.
totally appropriate. That is how it's supposed to be. But I somehow just felt like I didn't like the setup anymore. It felt too much of a setup of like a triangle, and I was apart from the triangle.
Oh, like you were the tippy top, and then there was everybody underneath,
Yeah,
and
and
there's no
that is
connection there, right? There's
yeah,
no.
it somehow didn't feel as mutual. It felt like
Hmm.
it felt super not mutual, and I was really lonely. And so in a yoga class, even though, no one's interrupting, although sometimes people are like, Rachel, you forgot to do the other side. Rachel, that's not your right arm. Um, I I feel like I am just making a container, and I have no idea what's going on in people's minds and spirits. And so I kind of like don't take the credit for the yoga practice they have, which is also what I could do in a pastor setting. But in a pastor
Right.
setting,
Yeah.
you are giving like all of the content. like in a sermon, in the words, whatever. You're giving so much content. But in a yoga class, I am giving content, but I'm not, but you're going to mess with it in your head and digest it however you're needing to. And so I much more feel an obligation to set up that container for you to have your practice
It's like you're creating
and
the
me to
outline. You're
take.
creating an outline for people as opposed to like the whole paper, like delivering the whole like dissertation. You just give them an
Yeah,
outline
maybe.
for it.
I just I don't want to get in the way too much. I don't want for them to get confused that I'm yoga, that my voice is essential for them feeling good. I don't want to get in the way too much. And my ego needed to be in the way when I was a pastor, and I got such an ego rush out of it. And I don't necessarily get an ego rush out of teaching yoga. Sometimes when I'm teaching retreats and I'm talking too long, I definitely get that same rush. But I just feels it is such a healthier thing for me to be part, and also like if I'm sick, I cancel.
I love
And
that. I love
I
that
think
that
like
you always
people
just
can
like put
do
it out
other
there. Say like,
things.
yeah, this is, and you always
There are
give
other
options. Rachel
tragedies in
always
the
gives
world.
options. Options. She has a beautiful YouTube channel
But
and
I but
other options. But it's like you got to take care of yourself first, right? Because then
and
how do
yeah,
you
and
create
also
that sense of community with everyone?
I also
Mhm.
feel like people put, I mean, I don't need to talk this whole time about what my life was like as a pastor, but I just feel like it right-sized myself. It right-sized my ego to teach yoga so that like, oh my gosh, people don't have to come to yoga every single time, and it's not about me. I
Mhm.
mean, and so if I can't teach yoga one day, they can go for a walk,
Yeah.
or they could just
Find
like
something else.
do
Yeah.
Facebook or whatever, and so it really it feels so much more right-sized, and
Mm.
I don't have any urgency that people have to come to yoga. And if people aren't coming, to a class, then I'm like, then why am I? And I'm not going to take
Switch
it
it up. Yeah.
personally. I am not
Yeah.
going to take that personally until someone tells me otherwise,
I
is my
love that.
motto.
I love that. Don Miguel
And
Ruiz would be
so,
proud. Not
what's
taking
that?
things Don Miguel Ruiz, he's the author of the 4 Agreements, and one of
Oh,
those agreements is not taking things personally. He'd be very proud.
yeah. Until you tell me otherwise, I am not going to take it personally. And if you tell
Yeah.
me otherwise, I might be like, sounds like a little bit about you. But
Wow.
nonetheless,
Yeah, I just generally don't at all. Like, everyone's got their own stuff going on,
yeah.
right?
Like
Like,
there's 1,000 reasons why you
gosh,
might not
just
show up
so
for yoga.
much. Yeah.
And but as a pastor, there was a lot more pressure. I mean, and it was also like you're the only one up there. And
Mhm.
but anyways, I feel like yeah, so that was part of my journey, was just like feeling so much better, not feeling this pit of anxiety about if I was doing a good job or not. It just yeah, I feel like if people want to come to my yoga class, they will. And and if they like it, they'll tell their friends. And um and I trust that. I really trust that. So, you know, people I'm I'm I get a D probably on self-promotion and like advertising, but I just trust my community to share if they like it.
Yeah. And Rachel, you're building a community that's right sized for you, that feels good for you, that feels authentic
Right.
for you. And there's nothing about that that says you have to like have a
Right.
million subscribers or like do classes 12 days a week.
Yeah,
You know
because
what I mean? So
I do
it's
do
just like
12,
you gotta do you.
I do 12 classes a week.
Oh, I
And
said 12 days, but yeah, yeah. You
oh,
do 12 classes. I didn't know
I
that.
do 12
Yeah.
classes a week. And so, but exactly, and I don't want to do more than that.
Yeah.
I, yeah, so it does feel very right size for me and my personality. And and for my family and my lifestyle,
Yeah.
because I feel like I have a job, but I feel like I get a life.
Yeah,
So,
you give yourself permission to find that, right? What is that integration of, like, this
yeah.
beautiful practice
But I've been shit
that
on
you
many a
lead?
times. I've been shit on many a times about my promotion methods or how much I cost or, and I really struggle with that. And it's really like maybe today when I've had a really good night's sleep and I'm kind of recovering from a cold, and I'm like, you know what, this is my way. It might just be today that I feel so chill and like who I am about it, but because there are other days that I really struggle with, should I be charging more? What am I doing for free and what am I not doing for free?
What's my lead magnet? What do I have to do,
I don't even know what a lead magnet is, but nonetheless,
Yeah, I
exactly,
noticed you did not
Heidi.
have one, and I was
I
like,
don't even know
"Okay,
what it
okay."
is.
That's just
What's
like
a
a little
lead magnet?
freebie, like, it's usually a freebie PDF download that gives, like, a little of your essence,
My
like, gives
first
people a
class is
gift.
always free. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so there you go. So that's your lead magnet is a so Rachel
Yeah.
offers a free first class if anyone who
Yeah,
is
and if you
watching the
never
replay
pay
or
me,
listening to the
I'll just be like,
replay.
"Why aren't they paying?" But nonetheless, whatever.
But yeah, kudos to you to like just continuing to stand in your own self-truth, right? In a way that feels good for you. And
Otherwise, it just feels
yeah.
awkward. I
Yeah, and
just
so
get
you gotta
out
do you.
all the
You gotta do
time.
you. You gotta say like, "Am I getting in my own way?" Because other people keep like giving me this message. Because a lot of times, like, I get repeat messages from the universe. I'm like, okay, I need to check out this situation I got right now. Um, or and then sometimes I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna do me, and this is how I'm gonna do me right now. Like I really felt I
Until
really
I decide
yeah,
otherwise.
until I decide otherwise. I give myself permission to change midstream. So this is a total side note, but I think it was and I was so I think there was a famous singer who renounced like at some point in the middle of Black Lives Matter and in the pandemic renounced wearing makeup, and I don't remember what her name is. It might be
Kanye,
Rihanna.
or I mean, oh my gosh, it's not Kanye West. What am I saying? It wasn't during the pandemic. It was before that.
Okay.
Alicia
And
Keys
Alicia
stopped
Keys, yes.
wearing makeup for a long time.
Yeah, and then so, like, after at that time, she was getting ready to go on a late night show, and I think it might have been Stephen Colbert, but I'm not sure. And then he came up to her, and he was like, "Oh, looks like you're wearing makeup." And she's like, "I could do whatever the fuck I want."
That's
And
exactly
so
right.
they take that as your invitation,
I
like
I
you get to choose makeup or
I
no makeup.
so remember. I so remember that, and I follow Alicia Keys for this exact same reason, is that she did for a long time not wear any makeup and like went on The Voice or whatever it was without being touched up by 1,000 eyelashes. And and then I remember that one show too where she's like, "You know what? So I get to decide that I'm going to wear makeup today.
Yeah,
I get to.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
not betraying myself or anybody else." So, yeah,
I'm
so
not
maybe
measuring up to anybody your expectations.
no.
I'm gonna
So I
measure
can
up to mine.
self-promote when I want to, but it's when I want
Exactly.
to, not when somebody's like,
And
"Come
how you
on,
want
come
to.
on, come on."
And
Right.
how you want to, right? You could be like, I'm
Excuse
gonna
me.
go to the farmer's market and everyone that goes on my list is gonna get some like a basket of corn. Whatever.
Oh,
You know what I
no.
mean?
I probably won't do that, but
Yeah, I know,
nonetheless,
but I'm saying
yes.
like you could do
Right.
whatever you
I can
want.
do whatever I want.
Yeah, as long as it feels good to you.
Right.
So that's the moral of the
Indeed.
story.
That is the moral of the
Fantastic.
story.
That's lovely. So we're gonna move on to one of my favorite parts of the show. And it's
Okay.
called the spotlight moment.
I have a
So
spotlight right here.
all right. So talk to me about your peculiar genius. So your unique mix of talents, personality, quirks, weirdnesses, whatever, that make you uniquely qualified to do what you do.
I think I just shared it.
Share it again.
I think I think I'm honest. I think
Mm.
that, it doesn't I think it feels like a scary risk to pretend to be something I'm not. It makes me pin out.
Mm.
And, So that's not to say that like I'm always I mean, but I think I am myself. I think I'm really honest, and I don't think it's a big risk for me to share things about myself. Like it doesn't it isn't scary for me to say I'm having a bad day. It isn't scary for me to be in a bad mood. Um or to be excited about something. So I feel like I am particularly good at talking about myself in appropriate ways so that it's not like a gross overshare and is enough to let people feel like I'm really good friends with her.
Mm.
Which is part of being an Enneagram 3 is I
Yeah.
think is that I think I do have a good ability to make relationships with people fairly quickly because whether you're wearing your heart on your sleeve or you're just I mean, I don't know not to share maybe. Um, and yeah. I on the same end of that, you know, there's this acronym that I have in the daily deck of curiosity and wonder. That's wait. We are in this together. And I just remembered the other day that I was part of some group conversation, you know, small group thing. And there's the talk beforehand for like extroverts. You might keep in the back of your mind the acronym WAIT. Why am I talking? And introverts, you might, you know, rally your troops a little bit so that you can speak up, you know? And so why am I talking also has to part of, you know, like I'm very comfortable talking about myself. So if you ask a question, I'll tell you. It isn't a big risk for me. But then I also have to like keep in mind, Rachel, why are you talking? Why am I talking right now? And you could let, you know, not right this second, but like in a group setting, I don't always have to be the one um, talking. So asking myself, why am I talking? Is a healthy companion for me to be reminded of in my comfort with public speaking, my comfort with, you know, small conversation, talking, everything is um that's it. That's my unique
I
genius.
love that. And I would say that you are a beautiful, authentic, strong, extroverted feeler. So that's the kind of like,
And I am a
you're
really
not
strong
afraid to
introvert.
dig deep. Dig deep.
I
Yeah.
I do love talking
Mhm.
I do love having
Mhm.
big conversation
Mhm.
and but it also is essential that I'm by myself. So I'm one of those
Mhm.
people that like must have solitude or
Mhm.
I'll punch you in the face.
So, so at one of your more recent retreat, like your most recent retreat, did you share that you're an Enneagram 3 with a 4 wing? Did you share that with me?
I probably have a
You
four
treated
wing.
before wing because you're a high because being highly introspective, right? Needing that solitude and that
I think I'm
introspection.
different. I'm a different kind of yoga instructor. I'm not like
Mhm.
all of those. I'm a different kind of pastor. I'm not like all of those. Yes, I definitely perceive myself to be very special.
Yeah, and you
So,
got the deepness and you got the why. You're always asking the why and what's the purpose? What's the meaning? Like why am I
what am
talking?
I doing?
And my wife
Yeah.
always asks me, like, I do a lot of introspection. And she's like, your meshes at your core, your question, your like word is probably why, because I always have to ask myself, like, why am I doing this? Is this, like a helpful way or an unhelpful way? Like,
Mhm.
why? And yeah, so I completely resonate with that question of why am I talking?
Why
Or why
am
am
I
I not
talking?
talking, right?
Right?
So like why am I really quiet? Why do I feel angry right now? Like, this
Why am I
big stuff.
bringing this up?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why do I feel like I'm going to cry? Like what's going on with me?
Why am
Why
I
is my
about to
back hurt? Well,
punch
I know
you?
that one cuz I just shoveled. Um, so the next thing is I call it the magic wand memento. So if you could wave a wand and everyone who listened to this would be able to just like let your words wash over them, and they would immediately believe them and start walking forwards in life with that as a belief, what would you say?
Um, it's something that I repeat to myself. Um, and I say at the end of all my classes. So some people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, one more time." Trust that more is always happening, or trust that more is happening. Oh my gosh, I can never do it when I'm not. Um, so we notice how things might have shifted and changed during the practice, and then I say, trust that more is happening than you could ever know, we could ever know or perceive, and that there will be shifts to come.
Mm.
Because at the end we do a body scan and or like a check-in, did anything shift physically, mentally, spiritually? And sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes it was just like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I just stretched my calf.
You're like, I tried. I
Yeah.
feel my calf feels
And
better.
and so
Let's do this.
there isn't often for me a real big before and after. And so trusting that more is happening than I could ever know or perceive, and that there will be shifts to come. And then also, if the shift was really powerful, if it was a really significant before and after, that's maybe more traumatic than I want. Like
Mm.
if you stretch your back that hard, that's gonna hurt for a while.
Mm-hmm. Overstretching can be just as painful as understretching.
Or anything, like
Mm-hmm.
falling in love, like head over heels, is that sounds dangerous. You know, you could break a neck.
You could.
And so I am a fan of shifting over time, and even if that's, body, mind, spirit. So
Mm.
that's it.
I love
Trust that
that.
more is
I love
happening than
that.
you could know or perceive.
Mm-hmm.
Trust that there will be more shifts to come. That's it.
On and off the mat. Amen to that. So, Rachel just recently published something, and I'm very excited. And I
Publish is
would
a funny word, but
publish. You
I
published a
produced it.
cool deck. You produced this.
I brought it.
Oh, yay!
I
This
don't have a very good
beautiful
camera.
deck of cards, and they each have her little teal
Oh my gosh.
yoga
Yeah,
daily bread yoga logo on there.
but it
And
has the logo, but it says,
tell us about the deck of curiosity and wonder.
okay, so there I have for a couple years followed this woman named Carly Borden, who runs this thing. I'm looking, oh, there's the box. I'm the Public Run Club. And so she is kind of like a yoga instructor, but she uses running. Whatever you
Fun.
perceive running to be, whatever you declare running is, she declares running is. And she's all about embodiment. She's all about learning about your parts. She's all about what happens mentally, emotionally, spiritually through your bodies. And her shtick is running. Anyway, and I just learned so much from her. She is so interesting and reads such good books. And so she had us this one time make our own introspective deck. And I had never heard of an introspective deck. And so she, said, make the spades be questions, the clubs be, I can't remember what she said, but I made clubs be practices, hearts be affirmations, and diamonds be quotes. And so I did it on my own little scrubby deck of cards. I wrote all these things. I made a big list, and it was so like lighthearted and funny. And every time it was kind of like shaking the magic 8 ball, where I was like, oh my God, yes. And then other times I was like, oh, what does that mean? Maybe that means nothing. And I had so much fun with it. And I was a lifelong journaler. And then I just got so over myself. I was just like, blah, 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 blah. Enough, Rachel. Enough of your yammering. And so this really just like took the seriousness, I guess, out of journaling made it not such like a life or death, big
Yeah, heavy
drama.
weighted, right? You just
Yeah, and
brought it
so
up
it
into the
just so much
light.
more fun, and I loved it, and, I am an entrepreneur, and I have a little entrepreneurial spirit in me, and so when I get in a project, I'm like, maybe I should make this and tell my people about it."
Yes.
Because I have a little bit once I like something, then I wanna tell everybody about it, and so I worked with my graphic designer who basically is like I just pay her to be my friend, Jessie Scheineman. Um, and I was like, "Would you help me make a deck of cards?" And she was like, "I have no idea." "Sure, let's find out." And so I designed all of it. Um, and then since she knows how to turn it into a thing,
The
you
product,
know.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, she has the computer skills. And so anyway, and so then I decided to make it. Yeah, but it really came out of this Carly Borden's idea of an introspective deck, and especially looking at your parts through what's called the internal family system, is that inside of each of us are multiple parts, and they all
Mm,
serve a purpose, and they're all trying to take care of ourselves. Even our inner critic is trying to keep us from
yep,
feeling stupid.
disappointment or yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
and, like,
Mhm.
give your inner critic a break. Like, she's
Yeah,
really working hard to not let you be embarrassed.
overworked. Mhm.
And so, so I did it that way. I did it as looking at what parts are coming up for me, um, and I would, like, have list the 3 parts of myself that are coming up for me, and then I always pick 3 cards just because I'm that way. And then I see what they mean for me. And so, like, I'm gonna pull them out right
So,
now.
yeah, so I was gonna say, normally I pull affirmations at the end, but you can pull a card, like, for
Yeah,
each of us
so
if you'd like.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it comes with a little instruction sheet that basically just tells you what I just told you. And I called it Daily Deck of Curiosity and Wonder because introspective deck sounded more serious than I felt. And it feels to me a little bit like, the old magic 8 ball,
Yes.
and whatever
Shake
meaning
it
you
up.
wanna put into it
Mm.
or not. And sometimes I pick a card and I'm like, "Actually, I don't like it." And I pick another one. And so again, God, I pick this one all the time. We
Oh,
are
I
in
can't
this together. I'm sorry, my
ah,
lighting is so bad. You
okay.
can't see
Oh,
it. So they
beautiful.
have,
We are
like,
in this
normal.
together.
Yeah.
Ah, love that.
There's always more happening than you could ever know or perceive. So that's a quote again.
Ah, came up twice now.
So an affirmation is here's 2 affirmation or 3 affirmation. Anyways, one affirmation is thank you. So
Mm,
what part
I
of
love
you or
that.
whatever as a response that's thank you. Like maybe the part of me that is embarrassed, and I say thank you for feeling what I felt or whatever.
Mhm.
Um The spade is what would be helpful. There you can kind of see how
Oh,
it's
what
set
would
up.
be helpful?
What would
Yeah,
be helpful
yeah. So they have all the
instead of
different
just
spade
complaining.
heart club,
Spade
all
Heart
those in
Club.
the
So
diamonds, all those in the corners, and yeah, so and then
question
let's just go.
is, where is the sweet spot between effort and ease? That's something I
Mhm.
say in yoga a lot.
I think
Here's
I, ask myself that question every day.
where is the sweet spot between
I
effort and
always
ease?
I always tell my I always ask myself, like, where is that balance between effort and ease? Where is
Yeah.
that? Where is that spot? And my kids now, I think they can probably repeat that back to me.
And that, like, here's a practice. It's a club. I'll turn it so you don't see the terrible glare. But it's draw an object in front of you with your non-dominant hand. So that's
I
just
love
like a
that
practice
practice.
to get out of your head and
Mhm.
to
Into
stop
your body.
overthinking quite so much. And there are 4 blank ones. So each suit has a blank so that you can write your own because I don't know what quote is going to be
Mhm.
meaningful for you. And so, like, this quote is accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. That's Eckhart Tolle. But that's what I
Mm,
wrote in, not, it's not in everybody's deck.
mhm.
Um,
So if you want that, folks, you'll have to write that one
yeah.
in.
Another one that I think you quoted um, is an affirmation that says, trust that it's working.
Mhm.
A quote, oddly, that I've never gotten. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few.
I love that. All right, let's not give away all the good
Yeah.
stuff,
Anyway,
everybody. So,
it's a daily deck of curiosity and wonder. You
yes,
can go to my DailyBreadYoga.life, scroll all the way to the bottom to the store, and buy one or
yes,
7.
yes. Give them away as gifts. They are fabulous, fabulous. And I need to get myself one, so I'm gonna order one and just go pick it up. I saw there was a local pickup,
There's a local
so
pickup.
that's
I know where
so
you
much
live.
easier. Yeah, you do know where I live. Great.
So
All
that's it.
right. Wonderful. So for your first class free, you can go there and sign up for one of the 12 weekly classes. And
Um, no, you don't ever have to sign up.
oh, you
You
don't have to
don't
sign up
ever
for a weekly
No,
class.
you don't have to sign up
Okay.
for a class ever.
Just
Just
come.
show
Just
up.
show up. Show up
Show up,
when
and then I
works
will
for
send you
you.
an email afterwards to charge you $1 billion a class, or $5 if that works for you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, Rachel, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much
Thanks for having me,
for
Heidi.
you're welcome. Thanks for coming on and sharing a little bit about your journey and the healing power of yoga and how you show up with Daily Bread and all sorts of good stuff, including curiosity and wonder.
We
So,
hope so.
yes. Until next time, I'm wishing you love, light, and laughter. And hopefully, you don't have to shovel your walk as many times as I may have to.
You won't.
All right. Take care.
Bye.